Part of the rules when you come to a range, the range has to have the flag up at all times when anyone starts shooting on the range. There'll be a flag on the front gate when you first come into a range, and on each individual range there'll be a flag up to indicate that there is live firing present on the range. And you'll notice the signs above here where we're going to sign in. The first thing you do when you get to a range is you must sign the range register and show your photo ID to the range officer so he can verify you as the shooter that is coming into the range. You must wear correct PPE, enclosed footwear, hearing protection and eye protection must be worn at all times while on the range. So I've complied with the PPE, I've got enclosed footwear on, and I do have my eye protection, ear protection. I'll now go and see the range officer and sign in. So I've just arrived at the range. I'm now going to go and sign in with the range officer. How are you? I'm here to have a shoot today.
Okay, if you've got a licence, that's good. If you haven't got a licence, we've got forms that you can fill out and shoot as well.
Under the Form 33?
Under Form 33, yep.
Here's my licence, sir.
We have a licence, okay.
So now the range officer's job is to check my ID, make sure that I've filled out the range registry correctly, and then he will then sign in as the range officer to say that I'm signed in to the range. If you are an unlicensed person, you can come to a range, have a try shoot, or just have a shoot with them. It's not a problem, but you will need to sign on to a Form 33 with photo ID. I have provided my driver's licence as an unlicensed shooter. The range officer will then get me to fill in the Form 33, sign me in, and sign me onto the range register under a Form 33, which gives me cover and insurance to shoot on an approved range as an unlicensed shooter. This is what a rifle range looks like. You'll have benches and then the firing line down there. You'll notice that there is a yellow line on the floor. Only the range officer and the shooters are allowed past this line when they ask you to take your rifles to the bench. Some clubs have the rifles left on the bench when they open the range to go forward. Some clubs, like this one, have them in the rack. You'll notice that the actions are open on the firearms, they are unloaded, and they have chamber indicators to show the actions are definitely open and clear, so the range officer and other shooters can visually see that the rifles are clear and safe. Once the command is given by the range officer, the rifles will be then put onto the bench, ready for shooting. The range officer will then command you to load once the rifle is on the bench. So I can take the flag out now and I'll load the firearm on the command of the range officer. He will say load and make ready. He will then give the command. Once you've loaded, he'll say that the range is live and everyone can start firing. So once he gives the command, which he has, I can now fire. So I'll fire on the command of the range officer. He's now called that you can unload and clear your firearm. So I'll unload the firearm. The safety flag is not mandatory on some ranges. A lot of ranges I do train at now, it is mandatory, but some it's not. It just makes it easier for the range officer to visually make sure that the rifle is clear and that it's definitely unloaded, and then he'll say either leave it on the bench, depending on which range you're at, or take your firearm and rack it, is which I'll be asked to do. The range officer will now visually inspect the firearm. He'll check the chamber, which you can see from the safety flag, it's definitely clear, nothing in the chamber, and then they'll also visually check that the magazine is clear. Once the range officer has closed the range to allow people to go forward to score and patch their targets, he'll turn the red flashing lights on like this, so everybody knows that the range is closed and it is safe to go forward of the firing line. And as you can see, there is no firearms at all on any of the benches. Like I said, depending on which range you're at. Some ranges have rifles on the bench, some ranges do not. You must always familiarise yourself with each range that you go to, as they do not use the same range rules. When you come for your course with Arming the Nation, you'll be asked by your instructor as part of your assessment, what must the range officer cite? Obviously you'll tell them photo ID, which you'll be providing to the range officer. The range officer will then ask you, what clothing do you wear at the range? And you will say enclosed footwear, eye protection and ear protection. And the range officer will then ask, what's the first thing you do when you get to a range? Obviously, sign in to the range register. We look forward to seeing you on the course. Thank you.